Mr. Schmemann, thank you so much for being with us. I really appreciate this opportunity. And of course, I would like to discuss your recent article in New York Times about the situation on the ground in Ukraine. First of all, do you think it is still possible for Ukraine to get back its territories?
I think someday, eventually, it is possible. We have no idea how things will develop. I think if Ukraine now becomes a stable, perhaps wealthy country, it would have an opportunity to regain the territory one way or another, maybe through referendums, hopefully not through more war. But yes, I think it is possible.
But eventually, you're saying, not now, not in the foreseeable future.
Again, this war has thrown many surprises at us. One can't predict anything for certain, but from what we can see from outside, and I am not in Ukraine, of course, it's at a stalemate. We've watched the spring offensive, the offensive that Ukraine tried over the summer. It didn't make much progress. Russia's not making much progress. The casualties are appalling. Without much movement. So I think at this stage, I don't see a large possibility for Ukraine to regain the territory through combat.
Sergei, you write, quote, regaining territory is the wrong way to imagine the best outcome. True victory for Ukraine is to rise from the hell of the war as a strong, independent, prosperous, and secure state firmly planted in the West. It would be exactly what Mr. Putin most feared from a neighboring state. Unquote. But do you think Ukrainian people feel like this and that Ukrainian people actually share your view?
I'm sure many Ukrainians, and maybe most, would much prefer right now to fight and regain their territory through combat, to defeat Russia on the battlefield. But, and I suspect many would disagree in principle with reaching an armistice right now, an armistice that would compel Ukraine to at least temporarily cede territory. But my argument really was that at this stage, with the war at a stalemate, with the casualties so enormous, and very importantly, with American and Western and European assistance, military and financial, becoming a bit dubious in America and in Europe. Financial aid has been held up in political forms, in the legislature, so it's not certain. My argument, really, the point I was trying to make was that to view victory purely in territorial gains right now may not be the best approach. The true victory for Ukraine, as you read, I think, would be to build a state neighboring Russia, which would be modern and prosperous and dynamic. And this would be a victory. This would be an example to Russia of what is possible.
You know, I have a couple of thoughts and feelings after reading your suggestions and your opinion. First, it's just, as a feeling, it's just not fair that some aggressive state comes to your home, takes your territories, and just, gets away with this. And it's unpunished. This is first thing. And the second, what warns me is that if this kind of future happens, and if Ukraine, for example, accepts this new reality, then the political crisis is inevitable in Kiev, and it's going to be worse for Ukraine. I suppose, I'm not sure about that, but I suppose, I can imagine. What do you think?
I completely agree with you. It's not fair. Russia was totally unjustified in this war, in this attack, in this seizure of territory. And justice begs for the territory to be returned. I am in no way suggesting that Russia has some kind of right by virtue of victory to this territory. The territory will remain it will be regarded as Ukrainian, I think, by the vast majority of global countries. Yeah. So the issue is not the fairness, but that right now Ukraine is being destroyed. The bombing, it is incapable of starting to rebuild. The industries have been destroyed, the power structure. Many, millions of people, thousands are living in exile. There has to be a pause in this conflict. And so my point was fairly limited. I am not calling even for an armistice. What I'm calling for is, if Russia is serious about looking for a way to suspend the fighting, even temporarily, that should be explored. These things, it shouldn't be written off just automatically. No, we can't talk to Russia. My article was really in response to another article in the New York Times, which I'm sure you saw,
Of
which
course.
said that Russia has been making some overtures, that
Yeah.
Russia has been looking for ways. And I think we should not be completely paralyzed by this notion that the only solution is to regain territory. If there's a way to talk to Russia to find out whether they're serious, we don't know that, it should be explored. It should definitely at least be explored.
I have some doubts about this signals from Kremlin, coming from Kremlin, as New York Times puts it, because I don't understand why would Vladimir Putin need any kind of negotiations right now, because he's in a very good position. At least a lot of experts, and myself included, journalists, see the situation like this. He is right now, he thinks right now that he is winning, as we can understand. Why would he want these negotiations?
We won't find out unless we ask. That's one of the points that I hope I tried to make, that there's the fact that there are many reasons to doubt Putin's genuine interest here, or that this is honest signals, it may be diversion. All this is possible and even probable. But there's no reason not to explore it, because there are also ways to speculate that Russia may have an interest. Maybe they want to freeze the situation where it is, to have a chance to rebuild its own forces, to try to negotiate an end to some of the sanctions. The fight is also costing Russia a lot. It's costing Putin a lot. He's not making any progress on any front. This Avdiivka battle has been going on for ages, and it's not moving anywhere. So it may be in his interest to have a pause in the fighting and to negotiate. Now, of course, you'd have to negotiate ways to secure the border so it wouldn't allow Russia to start the attack anytime. There would have to be a buffer zone, maybe peacekeeping troops. And of course, it would be politically very dangerous for Zelensky, as you note. But, a wartime leader always runs the risk that when it comes time to make peace, there will be political tumult. The thought is fairly simple. With all the complications, with all the caveats that you note, if there is a chance to stop this slaughter, and Ukraine is also running out of young men to throw in this battle, the money's not secure. If there is a chance to explore ways of halting it, they should be explored. There's no reason not to.
Again, there is, as Ukrainians put it, there is another chance and another different opportunity to stop it, is giving Ukrainian weaponry that they have asked for. And if they got it previously, the war could be ended for this moment. Of course, I'm not a military expert, I don't know, but what they say is that we don't need to surrender, we need to win, give us some weapons. And this is what the West is not giving to Ukraine. So some would think that this is kind of a letting down Ukraine. And you write in your article, by the way, you say previously it was, we will support Ukraine for as long as it takes. And now it is, we will support Ukraine for as long as we can. and it's quite different. Isn't it letting down Kiev?
That's my worry as well. But, and that's one of the factors here. I don't speak for the American government. I'm a journalist, but I see what's happening in America. There is a lot of skepticism about continued aid to Ukraine. The Hungarian government is resisting continued aid. These are facts. They're unfortunate. I completely agree with the Ukrainians. I would like to continue supporting Ukraine.
But do you feel like your view is shared by, not maybe your view, but how the situation as you describe it is shared by the political establishment in Washington? Do they see it at, same way?
Listen, you must see what's happening in the United States. We're faced with an incredibly fateful choice in the election. We don't know which way it'll go. So, in Washington, as I think in much of the world, when it looks at what's happening in the United States, there's a sense of suspense, of nervousness, of anxiety. We don't know what America will be like in a year. I don't know. And I completely agree with you. I would like America to continue supplying Ukraine with everything it needs. Although I doubt that in this kind of trench warfare, that there's some kind of magic silver bullet that would solve all of Ukraine's military problems. Russia also has many reserves to fall back on. We could give Ukraine fighter jets, and then Russia would start sending in fighter jets. That would not necessarily end the war. But yes, I believe the United States should continue supporting Ukraine as long as it takes. But it's not entirely up to me.
Of course.
And again, in my article, I wrote that if you are to negotiate or even to explore the possibility of negotiations, we, the West, would have to support Ukraine 100% so that it would have a chance at the negotiating table. So no, I'm certainly would never advocate lowering the level of support, but I'm afraid that in the circumstances, in the political circumstances in the United States right now, it's hard to guarantee it. I don't think anybody could say that American assistance is guaranteed at the same level that it's been provided for the past 2 years.
Mr. Schmemann, if you allow me, I would like to ask you about Russia and Russia's future. You have your own personal connections with this country, so you do care about Russia, I know. How do you see Russia in a couple of years, for example? Does Russia and Russians still have a chance, or it's going to be like decades of repressions and isolationism and so on and so forth?
I mean, to be very honest, yes, I do care about Russia. My grandparents came from Russia, and it's to me a great tragedy. I spent 10 years working in Russia as a correspondent. I've written a book about Russia, about my own connection to Russia, and I find it a great tragedy that Putin's policies have sort of broken Russia's connection not only with the West, but also with the diaspora, with the Russian diaspora that had, had felt great excitement 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And now I feel that, this is no longer a Russia that I will probably ever visit again, that I will see again. It's not a Russia I can be proud of anymore. It's a Russia for which I'm ashamed, the way it is behaving. So, yes, my personal feelings are those of disappointment and maybe anger.
And no bright future in coming years. No chances.
I don't know. Would I get a visa? I don't know.
No, you won't get a visa, certainly. And we won't get any visas to go back to as Russian citizens.
I'm sure you know these feelings. I was very involved with Европейский университет в Петербурге. So I visited twice a year. I love the university. I wish I could still, and I thought it was building a Russian future. But I think we've seen Russia set back for generations. I don't know when people will be able to start sort of feeling any normalcy in the situation again.
Well, let's see. And I hope to see you again on TV Rain very soon to talk about, for example, Russian elections, which is at least important for Vladimir Putin. So some changes are expected. We don't know certainly what exactly will be there in Russia in coming months, but I hope that we will discuss it soon together. Thank you very much.